If your back or knee hurt every time you try to deep squat, or you feel like you're about to tip over every time you squat deeper than parallel, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to demystify the most common issues with deep squatting and at the end, provide you with the means to analyze and address your own unique squatting challenges. Assuming you have decent squat form already, all squat related issues fall into one of three categories: mobility, strength and stability, or individual anatomical differences. Probably the most common mobility restriction I see is ankle dorsiflexion. Dorsiflexion is what happens when your shin and the top of your foot are pulled closer together. If this is restricted, you will feel as if you're going to fall over backwards every time you try to deep squat. The key here is to gain flexibility in the soleus muscle of the lower leg in order to free up the ankle for squatting. Hip mobility is also a common issue and is usually caused by tight hamstrings. As you go down deeper into the squat, you reach a point where your hamstrings can't stretch anymore and they pull on your pelvis, causing it to tuck under and causing your low back to round, which creates the famous butt wink phenomenon. This is a common cause of low back pain when squatting. In the upper body, there's a widespread inability to fully extend the thoracic spine, caused by too much sitting and slouched postures. In the squat, this has the effect of dumping the upper body forward and making it feel as if you're going to fall forward unless you compensate in some equally bad way lower down in the body. Pushing through this issue can cause pain and injury in the mid-back. A lot of people misunderstand the musculature of the core, and it shows from all the sit-ups and crunches I see done in the gym. The core has many functions, but its primary function, especially under tension, is the protection of the delicate spinal cord resting inside your spinal column. You would be shocked just how many general health and musculoskeletal issues can be traced back to damaged or worn discs and vertebrae, causing impingement on the spinal nerves. Luckily, the core is filled with tough musculature with fibers running in all directions to help stabilize the spine when needed. Training this function of the core requires attention to alignment and the use of static core training. One of the primary movement patterns of the hip is hip flexion, and this is exactly what you do when you're going down into the deep squat. The hip flexor muscles such as the psoas, the iliacus, and the TFL help pull the lower spine and the thighs in towards each other. If your hip flexors are weak, which they usually are, you won't be able to squeeze them in deep flexion and you will fall backwards or round your back when attempting a deep squat. The tibialis anterior muscle, or the tibs for short, assists the deep squat by pulling the shin down into the foot and actively creating the ankle dorsiflexion talked about in the beginning of the video. These are very commonly weak, but easy to train with some tib raises as popularized by the knees over toes guy. There are huge anatomical differences seen in the human gene pool, and they absolutely can and do change the necessary squat form. The pelvis of every person contains a hip socket, a bowl-shaped cavity that the head of the thigh bone fits into. This socket usually points laterally with a slight angle to the front. However, in a large percentage of the population, the hip socket is facing completely to the side, causing a change in the squat form that needs to be used in order to squat deeply and comfortably. There's also a large portion of the population which has the opposite angled hip socket, one which points forward. In further complicating matters, the head of the femur itself can even be angled to point either more forward or more to the side, again changing the necessary squat stance. But to simplify the issue, the combination of hip traits you have is going to land you into one of three categories. Your hips are either retroverted, in which case you're going to need a wide squat stance in order to squat deeply, or they're oriented slightly forward, in which case the standard squat is ideal for you, or they may be anteverted, which will require a much more narrow stance in order to maximize squat function and potential. And finally, the length of the thighs compared to the rest of the body will substantially change squat mechanics. Longer femurs will push the hips further away from the base of support in the feet, causing the torso to lean forward significantly in order to keep the center of gravity aligned over the feet and keep you from falling backwards. This type of person will find wider squat stances beneficial and low bar back squats easier than front squats and high bar variations. Those with longer torsos and shorter legs will find keeping the torso upright to be very easy, making front squats and high bar back squats more ideal variations for them. If you feel you could use some guidance analyzing and addressing your own unique squatting issues and anatomy, check out the link to the fully illustrated blog post in the description box below. Hope this was helpful. If so, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications of further videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep moving, my friends.